Catherine, everyone's staying home because of the ice storm and Christmas dinner is cancelled. Stay safe. My mum's text came through and I stared at my phone in disappointment. I understood, of course. Nashville winters could be dangerous. But what I didn't know at the time was that this simple message would unravel years of family deception and completely change my life. My name is Catherine, I'm 32 and I'm an accountant. Until last Christmas, I always thought I was just the odd one out in my family, the quiet, career-focused sister who never quite fit in with their loud social gatherings. My younger sister Anna was always the star, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. That Christmas morning, I had planned to spend a quiet day alone. I made hot chocolate, turned on a few holiday movies, and tried to stay positive despite the loneliness. Around 3 p.m., I was scrolling through Instagram when my heart dropped. There it was, a new post from my cousin. Perfect family Christmas at Anna's. So blessed to have everyone together. Family traditions. Christmas dinner. The photo showed my entire family, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, even my grandmother, all gathered around Anna's beautifully set dining table. They were smiling, wearing festive sweaters, clearly enjoying their perfect holiday celebration. And then, through the windows in the background of the photos, I saw clear, sunny skies. There was no ice storm. There never had been. I scrolled through more pictures, my hands shaking. There was my dad carving the turkey, my mom arranging her famous Christmas cookies, my little nieces and nephews opening presents. The ice storm was a complete lie, a convenient excuse to avoid telling me I wasn't welcome at their gathering. I felt a wave of sickness in my stomach as the truth began to sink in. How many times had they told me events were cancelled? How many family gatherings had I been excluded from? How long had they been secretly coordinating behind my back, pretending to care? The next morning, my phone rang. It was my mom, calling as though nothing had happened. "Hi, honey. I hope you had a nice quiet Christmas. We missed you." The casual cruelty of her words made my fists clench. This was the moment everything would change, though I didn't know it at the time. Growing up, I always tried to be the good daughter. I helped my mum with chores, kept straight A's in school, and even gave up my dream of attending art school to pursue accounting because my parents insisted it was more practical. Meanwhile, Anna could do whatever she wanted. When she dropped out of college to become a yoga instructor, they called her brave. But when I worked overtime to help them pay off their mortgage, they barely acknowledged it. I remember a particular moment that should have opened my eyes earlier. 3 years ago, when my dad needed surgery, I took 3 weeks off work to care for him. I cooked, cleaned, drove him to appointments, and managed his medications. Anna showed up once, stayed for an hour taking selfies with him for social media, then left, claiming she had a yoga retreat. Yet, in my parents' version of the story, Anna was the supportive daughter, and I was the one just doing the bare minimum. My extended family wasn't much better. At every gathering, my aunts praised Anna's free-spirited nature while asking me when I was going to loosen up and enjoy life. My professional achievements were dismissed as boring, while Anna's latest adventure teaching yoga in Bali became the highlight of every family dinner. I kept telling myself it didn't matter. That family was family, and they loved me in their own way. Even last month, when I spent hours helping my mum prepare for Thanksgiving, she told everyone that Anna had done all the work while I just sat around. I swallowed my hurt and kept quiet, as always. When Anna announced she'd be hosting Christmas that year, I offered to help with the planning and cooking. She brushed me off, saying she wanted everything to be perfect. I should have seen the signs then, but I was still holding on to the illusion of a perfect family. The truth is, I spent my entire life trying to earn their approval, making excuses for their behavior, and pretending not to notice when they excluded me from family gatherings that everyone else seemed to know about. I managed to keep my voice steady even though Nina's social media posts were plastered with pictures of the fun everyone had at Anna's house, everyone except me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could almost picture my mother's face, the one she always wears when she's caught in a lie, but is already thinking of excuses. "Well," she stammered, "Anna organised it last minute, and you know how you can be at gatherings. Always so quiet, always making everyone uncomfortable. We just thought—" She trailed off. "Thought what?" I pressed, my voice sharper now. "That it would be better to lie to me? To make me spend Christmas alone while everyone else pretended they were doing the same?" My mother sighed, clearly trying to deflect. "Don't be so dramatic, Catherine. We were just trying to avoid any awkwardness. You know how Anna wanted everything to be perfect." That's when it hit me. This wasn't a one-off. All those cancelled events, the last-minute plan changes, the family photos I later saw on social media. This was a pattern. My voice shook as I whispered, "How many? How many other gatherings have you lied to me about?" There was a long pause before she responded. "Catherine, you're being too sensitive." "Sensitive?" I cut her off. "Why do you exclude me? Why do you pretend I don't exist unless you need something from me? Why does Anna get to be the perfect daughter while I'm treated like an inconvenience?" My mother's voice turned defensive. "We love you both equally, Catherine. It's just— Anna puts in the effort to be part of the family. You're always so busy with work." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "Busy with work? You mean busy helping pay your mortgage? Busy taking care of Dad after his surgery? That kind of busy?" Her tone grew stern. "If you're going to be like this, maybe it's better if we give each other some space. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable." Then the line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone as everything I had ever believed about my family came into sharp, painful focus. Every excuse, every dismissal, every misunderstanding, everything had been intentional. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. That was the moment I stopped making excuses for them. That was the moment I saw the truth. I didn't have a family. I had people who shared my DNA, but treated me like an afterthought. After that phone call, something inside me broke. I was done being the family doormat. I opened my laptop and began writing an email to everyone. My parents, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who had been at that Christmas dinner. My fingers flew over the keyboard as years of pent-up frustration poured out. "I've seen the photos from Christmas dinner," I typed. "The dinner I was told was cancelled because of an imaginary ice storm. I want you all to know exactly what you've done. You didn't just exclude me from a family gathering. You coordinated an elaborate lie to make me spend Christmas alone." I attached screenshots of my mum's text telling me to stay home, followed by social media photos showing the celebration they had without me. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The responses started flooding in almost immediately. Aunt Marie claimed they had just forgotten to tell me the plans had changed. Uncle Robert suggested I was overreacting. I used to believe that if I just tried harder, worked longer and gave more, they would finally see me as worthy of being part of their perfect family picture. Then came my mother's text. "Hi, honey. Hope you had a nice, quiet Christmas. We missed you." Her fake cheerfulness made my stomach twist. I gripped my phone tighter, my eyes still fixed on the Instagram photos that were still open on my laptop, the evidence of the family gathering I'd been deliberately excluded from. My cousin, Na, whose post had exposed their lie, quickly deleted all the Christmas photos and sent me a message, accusing me of causing unnecessary drama. Then came Anna's response, a long, condescending email accusing me of never making an effort at family events. She even had the audacity to say that excluding me had been for my own good since I clearly didn't enjoy family gatherings, but it was my parents' reaction that truly opened my eyes. Instead of apologizing, they went on the attack. My mother began calling mutual family friends, spinning a story about how I was having some sort of breakdown. My father sent me a stern email about respecting family privacy and how airing our dirty laundry was unacceptable. "You've really done it now," Anna texted me. "Mum's crying. Everyone's upset, and it's all because you couldn't just accept that maybe you're the problem. This is exactly why we didn't want you at Christmas." It felt like I had stepped into some alternate reality. They had lied to me, excluded me, and yet somehow I was the villain for exposing their behavior. The more I stood up for myself, the more they twisted the narrative. When I refused to back down or apologize, they escalated things. My mother started showing up unannounced at my workplace, causing scenes in the lobby. Anna posted vague social media updates about choosing peace over toxic people, and my father even threatened to cut me out of his will if I didn't get in line. Instead of intimidating me, their actions only confirmed what I had known all along. This wasn't a loving family trying to protect itself from a difficult member. No, this was a toxic system desperately trying to maintain control over the one person who had finally stopped playing by their rules. That's when I decided it was time to do more than expose their lies. I needed to break free completely from their manipulation. What they didn't know was that I was already putting together a plan to show them exactly what happens when you push away the one person who had always been there for them. A week after sending my confrontational email, I got an unexpected message from Rachel, an old family friend who had retired from managing my parents' finances years ago. "Catherine, I've been seeing what's happening with your family on social media," she wrote. "There's something you need to know. Can we meet?" I agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe downtown. When I arrived, Rachel looked nervous, clutching a manila envelope. "I've been carrying the guilt of this for years," she said, sliding the envelope across the table. "Your father swore me to secrecy, but after seeing how they're treating you now, I can't stay quiet anymore." Inside the envelope were bank statements and legal documents dating back 15 years. As I read through them, my hands started to tremble. According to these records, my grandfather had left a significant inheritance, specifically for my education and future. Nearly $300,000. Money I had never known about? "Your father was the trustee," Rachel explained quietly. "He was supposed to give you access to it when you turned 25. Instead, he transferred everything into Anna's accounts, using it to fund her lifestyle and her failed business ventures." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. All those years I had worked overtime to pay for my accounting degree, the student loans I was still struggling to pay off, the times I had helped them with their mortgage. All of it while they were sitting on my inheritance, spending it on Anna. "There's more," Rachel continued. "Your grandfather also left properties that were meant to be split equally between you and Anna. Your parents sold them all, using the power of attorney they had you sign when you were 18. They were posting things to paint me as unstable and ungrateful, trying to discredit me before I could uncover the truth. The truth that they had been embezzling from me for years." Rachel's words echoed in my mind. "Catherine, what they've done isn't just morally wrong, it's illegal." Suddenly everything clicked into place. Their escalating efforts to portray me as unreasonable, their threats to cut me out of the will when they had already stolen my inheritance, and their desperate attempt to maintain the illusion that Anna was the successful, easygoing daughter, while I was the difficult one. I carefully folded the documents back into the envelope, my thoughts racing. "Thank you, Rachel," I said, my voice steady. "I know exactly what I need to do now." This was no longer just about a ruined Christmas. It was about years of deliberate deception and theft. And as an accountant with experience in tracking financial fraud, I was uniquely qualified to make them face the consequences. With Rachel's documents in hand, I spent the next week meticulously building my case. As an accountant, I knew exactly how to follow the money trail. Every unauthorized transfer, every misuse of power of attorney, every fraudulent document. I traced it all. I also hired Sarah Chen, a lawyer specializing in estate fraud, to review everything. This is a clear case of financial exploitation, Sarah confirmed. We can file criminal charges if you want to pursue that route. I weighed my options. A criminal case would ruin my family's reputation, but they had already destroyed our relationship. Still, I decided to give them one last opportunity to make things right. I sent an email to my parents and Anna, requesting a family meeting to resolve our differences. They eagerly agreed, likely thinking they could manipulate me back into their fold. We arranged to meet at my apartment the following Saturday. The morning of the meeting, I set up 3 folders on my dining table, one for each of them. Inside each folder was a complete record of their fraud, along with a letter from my lawyer outlining their options: either return all the stolen funds with interest and sign a confession, or face criminal charges. They arrived, their faces smug, clearly expecting me to apologize. My mother wasted no time. "Catherine, we're so glad you've come to your senses," she said, smiling as if everything were back to normal. I cut her off by sliding the folders across the table. "Before anyone says another word," I said calmly, "I suggest you read these." The colour drained from my father's face as he began scanning the documents, while Anna's hands began to shake. My mother tried to maintain control. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're trying to blackmail your own family." "Blackmail?" I laughed bitterly. "No, I'm giving you a choice. Return my inheritance with interest and admit what you did, or I'll let the police handle it. Rachel's already agreed to testify." "That's not right," my father began, his voice rising. "You had no right," I interrupted, my voice cold and steady. "You stole from me for years while watching me struggle. You used my power of attorney to sell property that was rightfully mine. You funded Anna's lifestyle with my inheritance." Anna burst into tears, pleading, "I didn't know. They told me it was from their savings." "Don't lie," I replied calmly, my eyes locked onto hers. "The transfers went directly into your accounts. You knew exactly what you were doing." I had convinced myself that it was for emergency medical decisions. But as I read the document I had signed in good faith, a sickening realization hit me. It had given them complete control over my financial affairs, and they had systematically drained my inheritance while watching me struggle. They accepted my help with their bills, all the while making me feel guilty for not doing enough for the family. Even worse, the bank statements showed regular transfers to Anna, labelled as business investments. Money from my inheritance had been used to fund her yoga studios and her retreats in Bali. Those same adventures they'd always praised her for, while criticising my boring accounting career. "Why tell me now?" I asked Rachel, my voice barely steady. "Because I saw your mother's social media," Rachel replied quietly. My mother, sensing her narrative slipping, tried a different tactic. "Think about what this will do to the family. What will people say?" I looked her straight in the eye. "You should have thought about that before stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from your own daughter." Then I added, "You have 48 hours to decide. Either sign the confession and arrange the transfers, or I'll go to the police." They left in a panic, my father practically dragging my hysterical mother and sister out the door. Within hours, the family group chat exploded with messages from relatives defending them, of course, but I remained calm. I had the truth and the evidence on my side. The ball was in their court now. That evening, I told Sarah over the phone, "Something tells me they won't make the right choice, but I'm ready for whatever comes next." After all, they had already given me the greatest gift, freedom from their manipulation. As expected, the 48-hour deadline passed without a word. My family chose pride over honesty. They didn't sign the confession, nor did they arrange any transfers. Instead, they attempted to destroy evidence, closing accounts, shredding documents, and even pressuring Rachel to retract her statement. What they didn't know was that I had already submitted everything to the authorities. The morning after the deadline passed, I filed charges. By the afternoon, the police were at their doors with search warrants. From my office, I watched the events unfold. My father was escorted out of his workplace in handcuffs. Anna's yoga studio was seized as an asset, purchased with stolen funds, and my mother's carefully curated social media persona crumbled as she was arrested during one of her charity committee meetings. The family group chat exploded again, but this time with a very different tone. Relatives who had once dismissed my claims were now silent as the evidence became public. The local newspaper ran a story about the prominent family's fall from grace. Years of maintaining a perfect appearance crumbled in a single day. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "You did the right thing. Your grandfather would be proud." She was right. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. As I watched my family's lies unravel, I felt no joy, only relief. The truth had finally come out, and I was finally free. A year later, I sat in my new home in Denver watching the snow fall outside my window. The court case had wrapped up months ago. My parents had both taken plea deals and agreed to pay restitution. Anna's yoga empire had collapsed, and she'd finally gotten a real job as a receptionist. The perfect family image they had spent so many years maintaining was gone forever. Most of the relatives who had enabled their behavior for so long stopped speaking to me, but surprisingly, I didn't miss them. I had built a new support system, genuine friends who valued honesty over appearances, colleagues who respected my work ethic, and even a few distant cousins who reached out to apologize for their past behavior. Last week, Rachel came to visit. Over coffee, she handed me an old photo album she had found while cleaning out her office. Inside were pictures of my grandfather and me, moments I had almost forgotten. In one photo, he was teaching me how to fish, both of us laughing at something long lost to memory. "He always said you were the strong one," Rachel told me. "He knew they favored Anna, but he believed you would overcome it." I touched the photo gently, remembering his kind smile. He had tried to protect my future through that inheritance, and though it had taken years, his final gift had ultimately given me something more valuable than money: the courage to stand up for myself and the freedom to build a life on my own terms. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free.